and how they defend, and rightfully so, but they are really fast on offense. I mean, they're really getting up and down the court. Certainly when you've got two forwards like they have with Kochar and Silva, and the way that they have played throughout their career, and certainly came on the national scene when they went to the Final Four, and they've done nothing to get better. But their guard play, Gravitt, Campbell, the freshmen, the young players that they have, they're playing at a high level. I mean, it's not an accident that they're having the success that they're having in the league. And when you've got that kind of fearlessness on defense, and when you have that kind of toughness level, and then you bring that speed offensively, it makes them incredibly dangerous. So we know we've got another really, really hard battle coming in front of us. The guys were great yesterday. We were off Wednesday. But everybody's been excited. We'll practice today, and we'll look forward to the game, and I think we'll have another great crowd. But we're getting an indoctrination as a staff every day in this league, and what you think you knew from before, right? And I've coached against Frank when he was at Kansas State and I was at Marquette. We scrimmaged each other one year, but I never coached against him at South Carolina or as a or since that scrimmage. But you think you know a team and you watch them, then all of a sudden you really dive in and study them, and you just realize how good a coach he is, how great a staff he has. He's got a former guy on his staff that's one of my best friends again, and Chuck Martin, who was on our staff at Indiana. Not only a great coaching friend, but a great friend, family friend. His wife, my wife, best of friends. And so, that adds to it. But then the more you dive in and watch it, you just really, really see how strong a program they have. And you get even more of an appreciation for it. So that's how I feel, and we're going to have to play extremely well to compete in this game.
Are you getting particularly hungry or frustrated in any way? Obviously, you knew this was going to be a rebuilding situation this year, but the reality of it can always crash in on you a little bit.
Oh yeah, but I think the reality is then that's up to you, how you approach it every day. And my energy is high on that, and fortunately I'm surrounded by other people that share in that energy. You can't take over a program, or you can't sustain a program without having a high level of energy and people that are on the same page. And that page is the commitment to improving your team. And that means individually, which we spend a lot of time on, and that means as a team. And I think when you're driven by that, you can't help but get better. And I know it's not reflecting all the time on our record right now, but I do see us getting better. And there's no question about it, and I hope other people do too. But frustration, I tell the players this. I've used this line for a long time. I don't remember where I heard it, but it's true. Once you hit the fifth grade, you can't get frustrated anymore, right? Now you're moving on into other things, and so we don't. I don't ever try to coach like that. Now demanding, getting angry about it's a driven business. I mean, it's competitive, and you want to help people be better. But it's a truth zone. You go into the film room, you go into the practice court. It's about telling the truth, but it's also about here's how we get better, right? And it's not about what we're not doing or what we can't do. It's about what we have to be able to do and what we're going to be able to do. And that's how I try to coach every day. And that's how I watch the film. That's how I game plan. That's how I try to recruit. That's how we try to operate it. And I think if you do it any other way, all you're doing is bringing a lot of other people down, starting with yourself. And I have no interest in that. So,
how much of that is instilling your system and playing for the long game with what you want to do rather than
you mean like with the improvement?
Do this to beat Arkansas.
Oh, it's a good mix. You got to have a mix. You got to have a real mix to this. But I think the improvement's the cornerstone of the program. It's got to be. I mean, because we can talk as coaches till we're blue in the face about, getting ready for this game or that game and game planning and doing all those kind of things. If your team, if your individual players don't feel like they're getting better or like there is a process to get them better, they're going to lose energy. Already the toughest thing in any game, okay? Communication's hard. Playing through fatigue is hard. There's a lot of things that are hard. The number one, by far and away, in my opinion, thing that's hard for people in a game is when they have disappointment, when they have failure in a game. How do they respond to that? How do they come back? Well, you got to have a way to come back from that. You got to have you got to focus on their skills. There's got to be like a belief that they're going to make the next shot or a belief that they're going to get open again. And so I think with that outweighs anything that you do to schematically prepare for the game, even though you got to do a lot with that, because you got to get their minds right that they can overcome things. And that's the mix. So here's an example. Yesterday, Yesterday was a little longer than it would be this time of year because we were almost an hour truly just on individual, well, some team skills, but shooting, driving, cutting, getting through contact, defensive footwork, not just team shell drill or team scrimmaging. That came out after, but just continuing to build their skills. So in turn, it's to help us now, but at the end of the day, it's to continue to make the program better all the way across the board, because we're not going to get where we want to go if our footwork isn't get better. We're not going to get where we want to go if our shooting and the mechanics of the shooting and the moving without the ball don't get better. We're not going to get better if we don't guard the dribble better. We're not going to get better with those things. And then you go in and you compete and you try to bring something out of it and get ready to do it again the next day. So I think it's always a mix. And I learned that such a long time ago working for the coaches that I worked for. Ralph Willard when I was at Western Kentucky. Tom Izzo certainly at Michigan State, had that same philosophy going all the way back to when I was growing up in college. Ralph Pym at Elma College and Denny Kuiper at Mount Pleasant High School. I was very, very fortunate to be around people that were very, very good game coaches, very much centered on getting ready for the game, but never got away from how important it was that the individual player improved throughout the season. Long answer, but that's a good, but it's the truth. Yeah, too long answer. You're not writing anyway.
I'm gonna pay someone to transcribe.
You got any Super Bowl plans? Obviously, you got a lot of football connections.
No
tickets or anything?
No. I'll watch it certainly, and I've got friends on both sides, but I have no plans right now. Not this time of year to be up there. I was at the one in Indianapolis back when we were in Indiana. Took my kids to that. That was the first one we were ever at, and then certainly when Joni's brothers played in it, and that was incredible. So I'll go back when they're back, or when John's back. Good.
What are you looking for from players like Nicholas and Derek going into the South Carolina game, coming back from Arkansas?
Continuing to move. They're getting better. I mean, they really are. Continuing to move without the ball, playing without fouling. This is going to be a very physical game in the sense of if you're not ready for physical contact in this game, you end up getting caught second. And I don't mean that in a bad way with the referees catching it second. I mean, you've got to be low. Low man wins because you're going to get hit, right? You're going to get hit. And it's like we said the other night with the Arkansas game, every rebound was like a loose ball. You're either going to get hit or you're going to be hit. And that's the way the game is. And so those guys being alert, being aware, being conscientious of that, being confident offensively, like I said, moving without the ball, being ready to score, and then showing leadership.
You talked about bringing energy in your practice. Do the players, you see the right amount of energy from the players during practice?
Oh yeah, for the most part. But I'm always looking for more, and that's part of taking the next step as a program. That goes along the lines of what Seth asked. You're always building. I don't like to use the term culture much, but I'll use it in this case because it's always up for grabs. I mean, you're always building onto something or you're building away from it. It's like the old adage: you're either getting better or you're getting worse. I don't know who coined it, but they were right? And so you've got to keep raising their level, and you've got to keep raising what they think their standard is or what they think their fatigue level is and how they overcome it. Because the games are extremely hard. But doing it with energy, doing it with confidence, those things are important too. And so, it's a family. And anytime in a family, you're going to have some disappointment in that. You're going to have some distractions. You're going to have some diversions. You got to attack that head on and move right on forward and help get them on the same page every day. Our team is no different than any other team. And you have to be conscious of that while you're doing it. So, because ultimately, again, because it is the first year, there's no other way around it. Every day is the first day together. Like today is this is the first February 1st together, right? Like, so when you do that and you're going through the season, they've got to keep learning what you know. You've got to keep learning what they're about, and you got to keep getting to the same page as much as you can, even when it's hard. And so that to me is, that's the thrill of coaching, getting everybody on the same page and getting them to really believe in themselves.
Any other questions for Coach?
And I know the answers were long, but nobody else? I'm sorry.
How does Nicholas show his leadership, like on the court and off the court?
Oh, he plays hard. He's playing harder, longer, and I think that's a great key for a leader. I think it's not about the experience because he's still very young. Mm-hmm. It's about understanding the game even better, and it's about understanding that the better he plays, safe is not the right word, but the other players feel better with that too, mm-hmm. right? Because he can do a lot of different things, and he's learning to do a lot of things. He's as much in a learning process as anybody on the team because he's learning more and more each day what he's capable of, and he's being pushed to a high level, right? They're all being pushed to a level. He's being pushed to a level too because there's so much talent inside of him. And I think not getting frustrated with that, I think being able to work through the fatigue of that, being able to work through the disappointment of that, being able to overcome bad stretches. You know, don't let bad moments turn into bad days. You know, that's a big thing for a team when you're trying to really build your team. Is there's going to be bad moments, there's going to be tough moments, but you can't let them override their thought process on how they keep improving in the day. And I think he's mentally getting tougher all the time with that. And that's
Derek,
key.
Yeah, and Derek is a senior. What's his leadership?
I think it's got to be continue to be ongoing, even when it's not going well for him. That's the whole sign of any leader. You can throw any name that you just asked me, and that how are you playing, and how do your teammates see you when it's not going well for you, and what are you doing to impact the game? Of if a couple of things aren't going well, or the main thing you wanted to get done is not going well, that's leadership. Right, that's leadership. It's not about necessarily who goes and meets the referees at the beginning of the game and shakes hands. It's not about that. That's a byproduct, right? It's a byproduct of who the true leaders are. And again, it's not about assigning captains. You can assign captains all you want, and that may not have any. They may not even be remotely close to the right kind of leaders for your team. Leaders emerge throughout the season. They build, and they got to go through tough times, and they got to go through them together. And the players have to see how they respond to that when they go through that. And that's what we're in the process of now. Okay. All right. Thank you.